I wonder how many time zones we're in. So Chicago
Oh,
here.
I'm in India, by the way.
Okay, wow.
We will be
Wonderful.
live in now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I would like to thank also Digital Week Online for organizing the awesome week of digital transformation. And special thanks also for Tech ABC, City ABC team, led by Dennis Quarda as our host today to arrange this great successful day for global digital transformation. And to our speakers, thank you very much to give us your time today and to share your insight. We have today some of the top thought leaders in their field. We have Helen, and we have Johannes Dogan, we have Charles Brooks, and we have Nitin Kalra from all around the world. Just 2 minutes before, we have been talking how many time zone we are, but we are in like 5 different time zones. And this is amazing. The digital world has bring us all together now in this meeting and this event. And special thanks also for all the viewers today. Today our talks will be, I believe, very interesting. We'll talk about big data. We'll talk about cybersecurity, digital transformation, 3 big buzzwords. And I would like to start the session with a short introduction about each of our speakers that he can introduce himself. I will start with myself. My name is Aghiath Chbib. I'm a cybersecurity expert since 20 years. It's 20 plus, but I always like an old friend of mine, skip the plus and keep it by 20 is enough. I'm the CEO and founder of a cybersecurity company called Seecra. We are specialized in cybersecurity consultancy. And I am also the co-founder of Telebionics, a California-based company focused on very unique state-of-the-art technology for saving life in terms of telehealth, robotic, AI, and biotechnology. And I'm very proud member of techabc. I'm one of the board member in techabc, where we are specialized as a technology house in building a state-of-the-art blockchain fintech platform powered by AI. And this is all about me. Now, the important is you, and I would like to start for each of the speakers. I would say, ladies first. Let's start about Helen. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, what's your exposure for cybersecurity, big data?
Well, thank you for an awesome opening. I'm Helen Yu. I'm out of Chicago. I'm the founder and CEO of Aghiath Advisory. That's a CXO as a service growth accelerator. I started my career actually as an accountant and financial analyst. My curiosity and learning agility got me where I'm at today. Learned to code as a consultant, Hyperion consultant, designed, implemented 400 plus financial planning applications, working with CFO and CIOs early in my career. And then we were acquired by Oracle. I run Oracle BI consulting practice and then also a solution architect at Oracle with the added pleasure of learning from Oracle executive VP at that time, Keith Block. And under his tutelage, I learned the nuances of enterprise solution sales there. Then I learned about marketing and SaaS at Adobe. And then I successfully led the startup to scale up challenge at Marketo. So my journey really led me to recognize critical gap patterns in growth-driven technology startups, really prompting me to become an entrepreneur of today. And then technology, right? And then everything about technology really piqued my interest. That's why what I'm doing today. My firm, we offer managed security as a service as well. So it's an honor to be here with all of you and look forward to our discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. Johannes, would like to give us a couple of words about your background? and what you do and your
I'll be,
exposure to cybersecurity?
I'll be happy to. My name is Johannes Drooghaag, but most people call me JD because that's much easier to pronounce. I believe that only when you are either Dutch or Arab speaking, you can pronounce it properly with the ch. Otherwise, it will just hurt your throat. So stick with JD. That works very well for me. I'm used to that. I'm the founder of Spearhead Management, where we focus on leading change from within. So we're not implementing new instruments. We say we take what the people have and what they have to offer, and together we will find new ways to embrace change and to be happy about change. It's a mindset approach that we prefer over methods and technology. When it comes to cybersecurity, I work in the same field. My focus is the human element. I publish about that, I write about it, I have an upcoming book about it. I really leave the technical components to the technical specialist, because my theory, and unfortunately that theory always gets confirmed, what we understand as human beings compared to what happens in the technology field is roughly 1 month development in our head compared to 10 years development in the technology field. So we have an enormous gap between how we learn to operate things in a secure manner and how technology grows and how it gets implemented. And that's why I focus on. And it's for me always the most important thing to see: when you enable people to do the right thing in a secure way, they will. Unless they are hackers, and those are the ones you're looking for, of course. But unfortunately, most people still get those generic, once a year, not specific trainings, which don't bring them anything for their daily tasks. And that's where I jump in. And I know that, for example, my buddy Chuck from the other side of the Pacific does exactly the same. It's technology, yes, great, fantastic, but let's help the people work in a safe manner. That's
Yes.
me.
Excellent. It's very interesting, JD. I believe the human factor is, unfortunately, is always in a lot of strategy. What the big enterprise, they focus on investing money in digital transformation, technology, and they neglect the human factor, which is, I believe, is one of the most important part. Actually, you need to have the human, technology, and then you will go with the planning and execution.
Exactly.
Interesting. We will come back again on this point with the human factor, Jenny. Charles, would you please give us a glimpse about your impressive background in cybersecurity?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I've been involved in my career in actually 4 areas that also include cybersecurity, but it's been industry, academia, media, and I've also been in government. In government, I've served twice as a presidential appointee. One time when they created the Department of Homeland Security, I was one of the actual original people helping set it up. So it's been an interesting journey, particularly back then when there really wasn't a concern with cybersecurity, a bit more about other threats. But so my career has done that. I've been on that path, and most recently, I've been teaching at Georgetown University as adjunct faculty in 2 areas. One is cybersecurity risk management, and the second one, which also is pertinent to what we're talking about today, is in applied intelligence, and it's dealing with disruptive technologies in organizational management. So I think of all things I've been doing, academia is the most rewarding because you get to pass on your knowledge to other people and you continue to learn yourself. In my spare time, I write for Forbes. I'm a technology writer for that. And in my most recent career, I was with General Dynamics Mission Systems, a defense firm, where I led their growth strategy efforts for cybersecurity, new cybersecurity products and services. But now I'm on my own in Brooks Consulting International, and I'm doing mostly public policy and doing advice for, as JD said, on human factors and other aspects of preparing for cybersecurity.
Interesting. Very impressive. Excellent. Nitin, would you share with us a little bit about your background in cybersecurity? We have very, very interesting people here and very experienced, very well experienced. I know you, Nitin, also You had a very long journey in this area, especially in big data analytic, and we would like to hear it from you, please, a little bit.
Sure, thank you, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you to our good friend Denise Garda and the Digital Week Online to give all of us this opportunity. Great concept, 100 countries and 200 speakers. That's why we have so many time zones, to match for. So I appreciate, the planning, which has gone beyond, all this event, to match the time zones and everything. So as you know, I'm Nitin. I'm based in New Delhi, India. Been into technology space for almost about 20 years now. I did my master's in information technology and marketing way back in 2001, and since then been doing best of both world, between India and the Western world, and presently heading the India operations for the company called Alqimi. And Alqimi has been known for our work which we have done in the intelligence community on the western side, and I manage the operations in India. We have a team of big data engineers, data scientists, data analysts in Gurgaon, which is the satellite town to New Delhi. And I think this is my 12th year with the organization. And prior to that, I was with Oracle. And I think I was the core team to launch the Oracle Unbreakable Linux. During that time when Oracle decided to come into the operating system space. And prior to that, I was managing another tech-based company called Gausa, and been managing operations from UK as well as US on the software development side, and specifically on the KPO, where I think we were the first one to incubate financial outsourcing as well as legal process outsourcing. So those were the lineage which I carry, and right now focusing on for the reason we all of us are here, which is cybersecurity, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and digital transformation. So have many interesting stories from our implementation in the local market. And in fact, what we have noticed, and I'm going to speak more about it, I think the last 7-8 months has given us, the digital transformation acceptability, which would have taken another 4 to 5 years.
Wow, very interesting. Excellent. Thank you very much, Nitin. We have today also Fernando Martino. It's online. Unfortunately, Fernando, he will be not able to join us with video. He just, his flight get delayed. I can imagine now everything crazy was flying and everything else. And he is now on the way, I believe, to a safe place where he can switch on the video, hopefully later. Fernando, would you please give us a short introduction about your background in cybersecurity?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I started quite early, quite young. Anything related to software, computers, games. That was when I was quite young. That was the thing that really attracted me initially, and then progressed. And I had internet in 1993, so I go that far back. Yeah, and of course, cybersecurity was always something that I was very interested at that age. And then continue my career. I became CTO of some large organizations, some smaller organizations, medium-sized, responsible for everything related to information technology, from data center security, software development, etc. And the big data, I came around 2008, 2009. Yeah, I started to look at Hadoop systems. I had a team in Germany already looking at Hadoop, and then got involved as well with Google when I was at the Google Client Board. Yeah, and they were quite early days for Google Cloud. and had a few guys from my team helping Drooghaag in Google, which created a big query data platform. So it was really, really early. They were not even, I think they were just moved to beta at the time. And then as well, Microsoft, I was at the Microsoft Azure Client Board, moved from Google. And I started then with a couple of guys, Naores, which was a distributed cybersecurity ecosystem. So yeah, I'm gonna cut short, so I think it's enough about my background. So yeah, let's go into the questions, I think, yes?
Yes. Thank you very much, Fernando. I would like to share with our viewer and participant in this event or this session some information. It might be some of you know it, but just for us as a refresher, based on the statistic, the cybercrime will cost the world economy $6 trillion within 2021. 6 trillion, not billion, $6 trillion. It's a huge amount. It's a big numbers. And this make it definitely very interesting and very lucrative business for cyber criminal because it's cheap. And to get caught, it is the possibility is very, very low. Now, according to the IDS companies, technical analyst company, they are expecting that by 2025 we will have 41 billion IoT devices worldwide. Can you imagine this number? It's a huge number. It's a lot of data going there. The smart TV, smart fridge, smart spoon, everything is smart, all the IoT, the industry, the utilities with the smart meters. It's a huge amount of data that we are generating every second. Now, there is also a very interesting study I read or I found. It's called from a report called Catch 22. It's about digital transformation and its impact on cybersecurity. The interesting numbers I found that 80% of leading European companies are considering and putting digital transformation one of their top priority for the strategic planning. Great, and we need it, especially after we found after the COVID-19, we really need it, and it's need to be accelerated. Now, the interesting numbers, what I would like to share with you, that 29% of this company, they found increase in the revenue. It's about 29% revenue in their revenue increase from the digital transformation project they execute, which is great. This is what you want. This is the result you want as an enterprise, correct? You invest in digital transformation, you see that the revenue increased by 29%. This is great achievement. Now, the interesting numbers is that 21% of this leading company and businesses, they didn't have any cybersecurity strategy in place. Wow. How you can invest and you see a return of investment and you don't protect your investment. This is really unbelievable. And this will guide us actually would like to know from you your opinion and how you see the cybersecurity involving our life, society, and organization, and how does this impact the digital transformation? I would like to hear your view on this. We start with maybe, as always, ladies first. Helen, can you share with us?
Sure. I am glad I had some smart water this morning, so just perfect. Really, trusted data, if you think about it, is the lifeblood of digital transformation. And in the era of trust economy, cybersecurity becomes a competitive advantage. However, you think about IT decision makers are not only incorporating cybersecurity among their top considerations when it comes to digital transformation, but also it becomes their second investment priority. It's right after the cloud, right? And then, but however, on the other hand, Gartner predicted that 60% of digital business would suffer major service failures as their security teams are challenged to manage digital risk. These are enormous political, social, economic implications, why there is a disconnect. There are primary, I think there are three primary really causes of the disconnects. Number one is the misalignment between IT and the line of business. Only 16%, right? Pullman report said only 16% of them are fully aligned. How many times have you, I mean, when I work with some of my customers, a marketing team decides to buy a tool, IT doesn't even know that ever happened, right? Not until we start doing the assessment, what another endpoint connection. So that's oftentimes happens very often, especially in a larger organization. Second reason is increased reliance on the third parties and lack of internal third-party cyber risk management program, right? I'm being an advisor, oftentimes working with C-suite executives, and then I use my own device, right? And then oftentimes I have to ask them, hey, do you have any program to ensure, right? You got VPN in there when I access your system that's secure, right? And number three is the CISO. They're still struggling with having the visibility into the breadth of initiatives in their ecosystems. They may know, overall, these are 5 or 6 initiatives, but then they don't know, they can only rely on what reported to them, but having the full visibility into the risk threat landscape is lacking overall. So those are the things that how that would impact digital transformation overall.
Interesting. We would like to keep this session like a little bit more interactive. Please just feel free to interrupt, to ask, to give your opinion, whatever way you want. It is not like one by one and everybody will give his opinion. It is joint discussion. This not happen a lot to have such great thought leader actually in one session. That's why, please, we want to hear all your interaction with us. What do you think, Johannes? How it is that cybersecurity will involving our society and organization?
Well, what we need to keep in mind is when we focus on digital transformation, we basically say customer first. That's the starting point. What's the benefit of the customer? How can we serve the customer better? And how can we generate more revenue or less cost by focusing on the customer and optimizing our processes in a digital way? That's one side. When we look at cybersecurity, in most organizations, we make a thinking error by focusing on what we have excluded or what we believe that we are protecting ourselves against. And what we should be doing is take it from the victim perspective and work our way back. So assume that something went wrong and see how you deal with that. If we now manage to integrate that with digital transformation from the beginning, by design, we say, we are going to digitize this process, but we are also going, and we put on the red team hat, and not just the pen testing, really red team critical thinking, and we start to immediately keep our thought process about what if this goes wrong? What if this gets exposed? What if we need to change the process? What if this small step we now make has big impact on something we did 6 months ago, but we're not realizing that now? How can we respond to that? How can we minimize the damage? The moment we start doing that, we see 2 things happening. We get a little bit slower in our digital transformation because we have more thoughts to consider. But immediately after that, we start to get much more faster because we bring all this information together. We have less rework in what we did because we thought a bit more about it. And we reduce the risk. And that is what Helen also mentioned. The risk assessment and the risk management is still not covering the whole picture. The risk management is, in most cases, focused on the problems we had in the past, plus what we are going to do next week, but not the full picture. And that is the biggest challenge in digital transformation, for certain aspects, talk about cybersecurity, talk about inclusion, talk about accessibility. You need every single second the big picture.
Exactly.
But when we look at being agile, we say, no, 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 small steps, focus on what we can do today, don't go into the waterfall. And that's a conflict. And the winners will be the ones who are able to combine that, and who, and I love what Helen said about risk management being so important and also in too many cases underestimated. That is how we can improve it, by learning ourselves to do small steps, but keep the big picture in mind.
Sure, sure. I always like to call it at the customer, let's have the helicopter view first from up, and then we go down and we start to build step by step. It is always like baby steps, step by step. We split the project, but we know what we will see later. We know what we are planning for later. No, very interesting.
I love the helicopter view for a completely different reason. Everyone who has been in a helicopter knows that being in a helicopter means you don't see what happens below you. You feel completely, it's locked. You don't see a thing. So you depend on your instruments, on the people on the ground informing you what is happening. So the helicopter view is actually really good because you need very clear communication. You need very good relationships. I was told 2 months ago in a conversation with Edwin Diender that the Chinese expression is eyes in the sky. I like that even better. But still, it means when you look from a certain height, you don't see the details. So you need that connection. You need that communication. You need understanding the priority of the small step and the priority of the bigger view. And that's where many organizations still struggle. They switch from one modus to the next.
Definitely, I echo what JD just said, right? When you see the trees, you can't see the forest. So how do you want to see both? And that's really critical for companies to really see both. One of the companies I work with, they do really well. The CISO, corporate CISO, has a regional CISO, so that he has his eyes and ears at each of the region. When you have running a global corporation, it's impossible for one person to provide oversight to everything, because you do not know the regulation every single country, and then you don't understand the really devils are in details, right? You need someone locally to turn that vision into strategy, into actionable activities, so that people understand, communicate, right, with the people in each area and region, so that they can really have a community of cyber resilience.
Sure, sure. And how you see, like, based on what we hear, and this is very very interesting insight, and I like Helen approach very much, and JD approach. It is really amazing. How you see the cybersecurity can be an accelerator and can ensure the successful digital transformation, because at the end, I don't want to invest in a lot of money in my project and the digital transformation project, have everything in plan, the strategy, and get any attacks, and I lose my reputation, all my money, all my investment is gone, my business is all down. And how you see Charles and Nitin?
That's why I'd apologize here. My cable went out, so I had to create a personal Wi-Fi on my phone. So it took a couple minutes, but that's technology. That basically sums up the whole issue of digital connectivity.
How we can ensure availability, actually, exactly for this, the technology availability, and our digital transformation plan is available.
That's resilient, right?
And how cybersecurity can
so I think, again, I was just for the previous comments that I heard from Johannes and Helen, I think one of the things that needs to be done to ensure digital transformation, and I wrote an article recently in Forbes about this, called Creating a Cyber Hub in Your Company. And that is really what they were talking about, is integrating all the functions of a company or an organization or a government, so they work together. It's got to be collaborative, because we're entering a world where technology is changing faster than policies and in our ability to assimilate them. And the only way you can address this new technology and digital transformation is to be all on the same page. And a first step is, of course, it's basically risk management, and you got to involve your CISO, your CTO, your CIO, your sales, your marketing, your legal, and your whole C-suite in planning and creating a strategy. And without that strategy, you're going to fail, because what happens with cybersecurity is that small businesses get hit. They have no plan. They have no way to recover. They go out of business. And that happens to a good percentage of them, maybe 20, 35, 30% of companies. And now that we're facing so much more of a sophisticated threat, and we're all connected, 6 billion of us on the internet, we have to rely on each other. So I think collaboration is a first step inside the company in creating this framework and a whole strategy, whether it starts with where you're finding out where your gaps are and developing a plan to make sure that you can address those gaps is a first step, both with digital transformation and cybersecurity.
Sure. Thank you very much, Charles. Nitin, you want to add something, please?
Oh, yes. Oh, obviously, yes. You know, so,
yes, you have been waiting.
So I want to take a step back, and, I had some numbers which we've been tracking since we are in big data. So, I got an interesting fact which says that since the beginning of the time, since the beginning of the humanity, till about 2003, the total amount of data which was generated was about 5 billion gigabytes. This we are talking about, from we started writing something on leaf and, papers and blah, blah, blah. And in about 2011, the same amount of data gets generated in about 2 days. And 2013, it takes 10 minutes to generate that kind of data, And we are talking today, which is, post-COVID or, in between COVID. And COVID-19 has taken us 10 years ahead in terms of our IT adoption or digital transformation, So the pace of adopting digital transformation has quickened, So last 6-7 months, you had a spike in online education. You had, telemedicine adoption. You had online streaming. So I was reading some statistics. The percentage, high in terms of the digital streaming and telemedicine and education has gone high. So while the businesses, were adopting this change, and, like the co-panelists said that, the end goal is customer satisfaction and customer needs, so the adoption, the holistic adoption of data-driven approach, in our product, in our channel, in our demand, in leveraging the automation, to even act on customer signals in real time. So the e-commerce adoption. So I come from a 1.3 billion population country in India. So I've seen in last 6-7 months the pace of technology adoption in these sectors, and like the board level, the focus is always on the top line or the bottom line. And the message which I have done with my limited set of customers, in aviation and financial distribution house. In fact, an interesting analogy, one of our client, which is a 50-year-old financial distribution firm, adopted to digital transformation. And, they said that, we take cybersecurity or budgets on security as insurance, because we want to spend it right now, before it gets too late, so that's a protection. So I've seen that change in shift, from taking the cybersecurity budgets as overheads to, as an investment, so they invest in cybersecurity to protect their businesses. Thank to the real-time news, often we get to know, the vulnerability and the data theft, in the organizations. In fact, not very long, just about 72 hours back, one of the largest diagnostic healthcare lab in India, had a data leak. Millions and millions of records, were open in the public domain. So the investment on cybersecurity and security, having a cybersecurity resilience plan, I think is now getting gradually accepted on this continent, this side of the world.
Very interesting. Actually, Nitin, thank you for mentioning this, because it's lead us a little bit, it's like a beginning for my next question, which will be, now based on what you say, is big data now for us is a threat or is a blessing? And I would like to hear your view, actually, you and Fernando, because I know Fernando, he's dealing with big data since very long time with Google and other big corporate you work for. What are the challenges the cybersecurity expert facing with the big data, and how we can overcome that, we not get paralyzed with all this analytic and all this analyze of big data actually? Can you please give us your view, and then Fernando also, I would love to hear your point of view on this.
So it's a tricky question, So obviously, like anything, there is a pros and cons to it. There are challenges and opportunities. I think on big data, inherent, it comes with tools and technologies, which can detect cybersecurity threats. So I take big data as AI, machine learning, predictive. A lot of these capabilities comes under the big umbrella of big data. So while you have combining the analytics, machine learning, and AI, as long as you are proactive and you accept that cyber threats could be a real threat. So it's not that it's going to have it to your friend or your competition. Someday it could happen to you. So as long as the board of the organizations are educated and informed about the threats of cybersecurity, and there are budgets assigned to it, I would say big data could be a boon to the organization because of the inherent tools and technologies. And remember, we are talking about real-time data. So having a policy and a plan and a team in place, you don't stop it there. So it's a continuous it's an evolving space. Like we are adopting big data, we are adopting AI, we are adopting the machine learning technology to use good for our business. The bad guys are also equally technological savvy, to find the loopholes in the big data technology set. So in our kind of business, we capture data from various sources. We spoke about customer experience. So to give a personalized customer experience, you not only capture their master data on customer, you capture their transaction, you capture the pattern, you capture the open source data, including the social data. So you're getting data in a structured, in a semi-structured or unstructured format. So be cautious. Somewhere there would be a a loop or a gap, where you'll be vulnerable to the cyber threats. So net, as long as you are proactive, as long as you are informed and you're on your edge, and towards cybersecurity and resilience to have a cyber plan, I would consider it's a it's a boon.
It's a blessing then. I will understand. Excellent. Fernando, how you see this? Can you give us, please, a short overview about your opinion on the big data and how we can deal with big data and the threat we're facing, the AI, how we can utilize AI to our benefit? Very brief, because we're coming now near to our end of the session. And I have a very important question for all of you who would like to hear your insight on it. Fernando?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Can you hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, the problem today is that I don't think many people still take cybersecurity threats very serious, and the more data you have, it's just exponential, and the more vectors exist. And because, as you said, a lot of the data comes from IoT. There's no security standard for IoT. Everyone is doing their own stuff. So imagine, all of those analog things from fridges to, I don't know, kettles, whatever, everything being connected, everything interact in the world, yeah, being connected and becoming one more device as part of an army of many devices, yeah. So, of course, big data is important. Everybody should look at that. Machine learning, AI, all of those things have to continue, and we have to accelerate, in my opinion, the adoption. Yeah, but and of course, most people look at that because they can monetize all of those things. Yeah, it's all about sales, more revenue, how I can do more stuff. And that's all good, yeah. But I think there's a huge education still to be done on cybersecurity and the current threats, because today anything is hackable. Anything. Just believe me, anything is hackable today. It's just a little bit of effort. Of course, depends. If you do stuff like distributed and decentralized ecosystems with blockchain as its base, then you start to tackle some of these issues. But above all, it is about, I think boards should segment a lot more of their budgets to cybersecurity. It has to become even more important than today, because of exactly all of those problems I've been saying. And also because, and I'm going to be blunt about these, intelligence agencies across many different countries, I don't want to make names, they are the ones who are actually causing these problems, because they insist in backdoors, yeah, on some of the software that is out there. And we all know what's that software, we're probably communicating with one of those at the moment, yeah? Probably no, we are, yeah? And of course then someone else, the bad dudes, or it could be your competitor even, to try to get some knowledge of what you're doing, they're going to find those backdoors too. So the cycle then repeats. So it's not possible to fix cybersecurity unless there's a combined effort, between organizations, board members, and actually governments that have to stop to do some of the things they are doing. So I think the problem is bigger than what many people think. I know it is bigger than what many people think. So the caution is, for me, yeah, do your stuff, but try to increase your budgets. There are ways that you can minimize some of those threats. You will not be protected, okay, but you can make it more difficult for someone, yeah. So that's what, and Aghiath, you and I spoke quite a bit about this extensively, so we know how weak it is, everything out there at the moment, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree with you, Fernando. Like always for the cybersecurity, it is always nobody see it. Like now, definitely a lot of organization and CEO and board member, they see the importance of it. But still, if you are as a CISO, you want to go and ask for increase in the budget for your cybersecurity, you need to fight for it. You really need to convince the board
Absolutely.
Why you need to increase all layers of security you need in your enterprise, why you need to add encryption, why you need to buy additional software, why you need, we come again to a very important, what Johannes mentioned before, the awareness. I mean, the human, they are your weakest chain in security. And you go ask for training awareness. Okay, they can do CBT, computer-based training. Okay, it's not enough maybe. We're still human, we need the interaction, even if it's virtual. But these people, they need to know how to avoid phishing, social engineering. They need to know how to create a strong password. Sorry, Fernando, what do you want?
Yeah, sorry, there are two things that I wanted to mention. One of them is, when you're looking at big data, one of the weakest points, and most of organizations, I've been there as well, yeah, is that you want to make the data available to your data scientists, anyone, your analysts, and the control has to be quite a lot more, how should I say, robust, because there's a lot of shortcuts of who has access to what data, yeah, and that creates even bigger problems. And one last thing, sorry, I don't want to take the show. I know you have another question. You have to go then to the actually providers of cybersecurity solutions, and also it doesn't matter if it's messengers out there or Facebook, so it doesn't matter who they are. And we start to have to take things serious. People need to start to look at those companies that are providing communications. It doesn't matter if it's VoIP or whatever. Things like ZRTP protocol. Yeah, if you start to look at that in terms of communication, believe me, the game changes. And everybody that knows the RTP protocol knows exactly what I'm talking about, because, you know, it makes it today extremely difficult for anyone then to intercept your communications. But, you know,
Sure.
the tools are out there. Yeah, it's just people wanting to do it.
Excellent. Thank you, Fernando. Now, the technology we hear today, we have very interesting discussion about the IoT, the 5G, blockchain, AI, big data analytic. And I believe today we are like never before so interconnected. And it is very important now. I would like to keep the last 15 minutes from our time to hear your insight. We have between us here like around 100 years of combined experience, more or less. I would say 100 plus or maybe 99 plus between us. And I would like to hear your insight. The most important things, how can businesses and nation actually prepare themselves for this big data, for this threat coming with all this interconnectivity we have from the breaches, how they can prepare themselves, nation and businesses. And please feel free to start right to left or left to right, or maybe we start to hear Helen opinion first.
Sure. There are actually layers of detail to achieve cybersecurity readiness, including technical, organizational, managerial, strategic, and financial considerations. At minimum, organizations need to understand their threat landscape, right? Who manages cybersecurity, what training available, what processes are in place, where the gaps are. And then they also need to determine which standard framework they're going to apply to their cyber resilience objectives. Depends on the industry you're in. If you're in a highly regulated industry, there are additional framework you have to apply to in addition to NIST and many others. And then you need to identify and measure risk exposure, improve the defense in layers, right? And then reduce the vulnerability through people and culture. I always say that the common denominator is that cybersecurity controls consistently revolve around three key factors: people, process, and technology. From the people perspective, I think many of you already talked about earlier, you need to ensure the government, the board, the CEO, and executive team have a solid understanding of cyber risk and the importance of cybersecurity. You'd be really surprised that many of them do not have the common sense about what to do, where to start. And then also really need to conduct regular employee training. It's not just about new hire onboarding, it's about continuous training and education on every single employee. Secondly, from the process perspective, you need to perform an audit, right, to assess the risk landscape. I mentioned earlier a lot of shadow IT, right? It created that IT does not even know that existed. So it's so important for the CISO and others to really understand where exactly they are at, and then also establish a cadence to explore cyber risk. Just to have a framework, the process in place without a way to monitor or tracking the progress, that won't really get you anywhere. You also need to have a cross-functional metrics that really pertain to cyber risk and cybersecurity, because the board talks about profitability, the bottom line all the time, but cybersecurity needs to be on the agenda, right, for them to talk about. And then from technology perspective, defense in depth is so critical, right? Establish the layers of defense, the firewall, the admin, and multi-factor authentication, access management, auditing, whatever, and many of those needs to be in place. And then you need to automate the monitoring process to understand cybersecurity performance and align that investment with where the real world risks are for your business.
Thank you very much. And you cover really a 360 degrees of what businesses and nation can do. Can you tell us, Johannes, what you can add? And please, Charles, Nitin, Fernando, let's make it interactive. Just feel free to immediately. You don't need to wait until you return. Just let's mix the discussion. Johannes, JD, can you please add what you can add for?
I fully agree what Helen said. It's a really 360 holistic picture and approach. I cannot say enough good things about the importance of critical thinking and red team, like Mika Seecra did, for example, in his book. Perfect description and explanations why this has nothing to do with pen testing. It's really about learning how to think, where things could go wrong, and what you can do about it. So seeing critical thinking as a contribution, that's a very important step. There is, however, something, and especially the IT people don't like to discuss this, but it is something that we have to address. The IT teams and the IT experts have created in the past their own little universe. They are the experts, they know everything, and they are very good in one thing, saying no. So compare it to a football team, or for the US citizens, a soccer team. There's the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper is there when everybody else in the team screwed up. And the goalkeeper is extremely important, but the goalkeeper has a different shirt and plays by different rules. The goalkeeper is not really integrated into the team. In most cases, they even have separate training. Now, that is basically the role and the universe that the IT experts have created for themselves in the past. So yes, Helen, it's perfectly true that IT teams are not involved in whatever happens, but it also works in the other way around. And I do that with clients, and it's never appreciated. I never make much friends in the IT departments, but I take the entire IT department without exception, and I put them in protective gear and with protective glasses on and helmets, whatever we need, and I march them through the plant, and I ask questions, and I ask a lot of questions because I'm an operation person, I'm an engineer, I understand all that stuff.
No wonder that you don't come along with the IT team.
And it doesn't take longer than 2 to 3 minutes until we reach a point that nobody can answer the question about what is happening in the factory or in the process where IT is supposed to be contributing to. Yes. And that too has to change. So from both sides, involve IT, but IT, please be involved. Understand your business. They're basically paying your technology and your salary. So you could at least do much more effort to understand what is happening. And that is when we start getting what I always call brick and mortar. All the processes, those are the bricks. And cybersecurity and IT will become the mortar, holding everything together and making sure that the wall doesn't fall apart. Because if you just add a lot of bricks together, the first wind and the wall is gone, right?
That's an excellent point. I agree.
I want to add something to that. So I have a little bit different view of that. So let's not confuse IT with a security team, okay? In the most organizations that are dealing with cybersecurity in a serious way, they actually separating both, okay? So IT is there to do the jobs, and yes, of course, you know, I manage quite a few service desks and etc. It is tough, and they get into problems. In the security team, by default, the word has to be no. You have to justify first what you want, because you cannot compromise on anything in security. Second, any organization should really rethink the way they handle cybersecurity. Cybersecurity needs to be at the core and then build things from ground up. Yeah, structure everything. I'm not saying structure the business around cybersecurity. But when it comes to anything related to information systems, anything related to digital, being transformation or not, you have to put security first at the core. Design the business, the processes, whatever you want to design, all around the security first. And then when there is a request to change something or have something, you have to go and start from that ground up to make sure that your security is not compromised. Yeah. So having said that, I think most of you that work with the government understand what it means security. Yeah. The first answer is no. Tell me why. Justify why. Yeah. And then we can have a conversation, and not the other way around. You are here just to decide whatever I want you to do, or we pay your salaries. I don't see it that way. I actually see a synergy. I'm really sorry to say that, but I have a completely different view. And I think the business that are out there and the CEOs need to actually have a more understanding of technology and get involved as well on some of those things that people are talking, because a lot of them, they don't even know what you're talking about and they don't care. So I think there is a problem in terms of education in cybersecurity. And yes, probably was the cybersecurity professionals that over the years didn't spend much time trying to educate everyone around the business.
I believe, Charles, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I think the security challenges are going to even get greater, because we're now at a sort of a blur between the digital and physical worlds. And as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of new technologies coming on board, like Internet of Things, like 5G, potentially quantum computing down the line. And of course, we have machine learning, and what it's doing now is it's sort of automating the threats from the adversaries or the hackers. And that ability alone to target and to use deep fakes and all these different types of challenges now that are being posed to us really complicate the whole security model, because we're not prepared for it. We have a huge security gap already. Globally, it's 3.5 million people shortage, and we don't even know how to orchestrate right now what we have in our own, companies. We have a variety of different products and services, but there's a lack of expertise to know what works and what doesn't. And there's we have very few experts on encryption. So we're really facing, I think, a really societal challenge that affects every country on the globe as we become more interconnected. I think with these technologies coming on board, if we don't prepare, we're going to be, sooner or later, we're going to have chips inside of us that can be hacked. Autonomous cars can be hacked. Hospitals are already being hacked for ransomware. So until we could really look at, now that we're being changed exponentially by the technologies now entering our marketplace, we're going to have even a worse security dilemma than we have right now.
Sure. No, I fully agree with you, Charles. And I see we have a very nice mix actually today, that we have we really cover very well the corporate side, and I need to hear also Nitin, because Nitin also worked a lot with government. What do you have? What is your recommendation, or what you can add to what the gentleman Fernando from the point of view for government, Charles, and to complement what Helen and JD say?
So in the interest of time, I agree. I'm going to echo what my co-panelists said. Helen, Charles, JD, and Fernando. So I agree with their thoughts, and I think I'm going to summarize in just two or three quick points. One, I think we need to accept the problem. Yes, there's a cyber threat. Which is going to be an active business problem. Second, be proactive. Be proactive and be informative. That your team, your IT or data science team, is dealing with those 6 V's of big data, which is they've been dealing with huge volumes of data, they've been dealing with huge varieties of data, they've been the speed of data is almost real time. It's real time. We are dealing with the velocity of data, and then veracity. Sometimes we don't even know the source of our data. We collect so much open source data, the news, the blogs, social. Sometimes we don't know the veracity of our source of the data, and then the variability into it, and sometimes the derived data, which we call value. So be informed, accept that we have a threat, we have a problem, and then obviously do mitigation. Have your cyber resilience plan, and so understand, accept, understand, and then have a mitigation plan to it.
Sure, I fully agree with you. Thank you very much. We come to the end of our day. Do you have any, our session, sorry, and almost the day, for me at least, where I am staying,
Yeah,
for
me,
Charles, still early morning. But for our session, we pass now exactly the time. There's any additional thought you would like to share with us, ladies and gentlemen?
I'll go
I
first.
Yes, please.
I say getting cyber fit is everyone's responsibility. So because the chain is only as strong as its weakest link, a company's ability to prevent crippling cyber attacks depends on its ability to cyber fortify each and every employee.
Sure. I fully agree with you.
I would just say that we're now globally connected in two big areas. We're all facing the same COVID-19 threats, and we're all facing the cybersecurity threats. And the closer we can work together and collaborate and work as one, the better we're going to be at defeating these threats.
Very well said. Thank you, Charles. Very well said.
I think I'm going to say interesting times, and COVID-19 has, given us that speed to adopt the technology, the digital transformation. And, recalling the days, when you were going to the retail shop asking for something, it's not in the inventory, to now, where your marketer knows what my personalized needs are, when I'm gonna, my consumption history, that when I'm gonna be coming to them for reshopping or refilling my stock. So interesting times, looking at the history where we come from, to the automation and to the AI, and machine learning world, where, more than us, more than me, my shoppers know where I'm going to shop, what I'm going to do next.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I just want to add as a final thought, which is take as a principle that your employee is your biggest threat. Okay, we all know that 70% of the threats, I think now more because of COVID and everybody working from home, either on purpose or not on purpose, but most of the threats come from inside your organization. Yeah. So you have really to take access control, identity, all of those basic things. Yeah. Get the best products around that. Yeah. And make sure that you build them from the ground up to the point where, you are ready to go to the next stage with the board and the CEO and say, we need now to move to the next step in terms of hardening the threats from the outside. Yeah.
And I would say always awareness. Correct?
Yeah. Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Excellent. JD, you have any final thought you want to share with us?
Yeah, there's a thing that I learned already in the military and also in my red team education and then later in cybersecurity. The biggest error in our thinking is that we focus on the outside. We focus on the outside border and look if something happened there. And what we need to learn is assume that your organization is already exposed, or your government. Assume they're already there. And there's a 99.9% chance that they are, and the 0.1% is they are, but we haven't figured it out yet. So assume that your organization is already exposed and build the protective mechanisms in both directions. So outward as well as inward. And that starts with 3 basic layers: patch management from everything, not only the expensive servers, everything. Access control, as Ferdinand mentioned, extremely important, and review that almost permanently. And the third thing is segregation. Segregate all those functions and make sure that you have controlled crossovers between those functions and not white ones. And when we then start looking at big data, and as Nitin mentioned, one of the challenges there is that everybody has access to everything, and you cannot control that anymore, because make that layer of controlled crossovers. And it's much better to have a person ask you, can I get that? And then organize it, than find out 2 years later that they had access to everything and did with that whatever they wanted. And oh, now you have a litigation case, or you have whatever problems because of that. Sure. 3 layers: patches, access, and segregation. And that's where you start.
Exactly. I like the point you say very much, because I always repeat it to my customers about assume that you are already compromised. And I tell them, listen, if Facebook, the attack on Facebook stand like 120 or 130 days undetected, Google, same, like 90 days undetected. The attackers was already there, took whatever he want, do all the collateral movement he need until they detected. How you know that you are not now under attack? How you know there's nobody there on your server?
Reconnaissance is the biggest part. So they search for the vulnerabilities. That doesn't mean that they weaponize them yet. They just make sure that they know exactly where your weak spot is and your weak spot and your weak spot. And when they need it, it's a flip of the switch.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We are a little bit over our time. I think I can spend like hours discussing with you and get more enlightened and more insight. It was really a great session. I enjoyed very much. I hope everybody also enjoyed same like I did. Thank you again for your time. It was really great. I would like also to extend my thanks for the Digital Week online team, and special thank for our host Dennis Guarda and the team behind him in techabc, and especially Serafima. Believe me, they put a lot of work in order to get this day successful. Thank you very much, techabc. Thank you, Digital Week Online, and thank you everybody today who watched us. I hope you enjoy it.